Hello guys, welcome to H2O, the A to Z of chemistry. I'm Dr. Ritu Johar, your educator for this course on general organic chemistry, and I hope you are all doing well, enjoying your studies. So today we will be beginning with lecture 2 from GOC part 2. What have we done in part 1? Well, we've had a detailed discussion on the nomenclature of organic compounds. Starting from what is organic chemistry, what are organic compounds, to the nomenclature of organic compounds, each small little thing we have discussed in 17 lectures. So there is going to be a detailed discussion on the nomenclature in those lectures, and in case you are watching us for the first time, you've not watched those lectures, please feel free, watch those lectures, clarify your concepts, because that is going to be the best way you are going to learn the nomenclature, and that is going to be the first step in the learning of general organic chemistry, or in fact organic chemistry. Now, in Journal Organic Chemistry Part 2, what have we started with? Well, we have started with a discussion on the isomerism of compounds. And what we have learned in lecture 1 is what is isomerism. So, what is isomerism? Well, this is going to be a phenomenon in which there are going to be two or more than two compounds which will be having the same molecular formula, but the properties of them, the physical properties, the chemical properties, they are going to be different. Now in isomerism further, what did we discuss? We discussed the classification. So it is broadly classified into two categories, structural isomerism and stereoisomerism. Structural isomerism is where the atoms in the molecule, they are going to be linked to each other differently in the two or more than two structures, right? So the isomers, they will be having atoms linked to each other differently in structural isomerism, whereas in stereoisomerism, the molecular formula is going to be the same. The way atoms, they are linked to each other, that is also going to be the same, but they are going to be difference in the three-dimensional arrangement of the molecules. All right. So we are learning step by step. We have started with a detailed discussion on structural isomerism. In the last lecture, we discussed what is chain isomerism, what is position isomerism, and now we are going to carry on further. We are going to learn three more types of isomerism today. First is going to be functional isomerism, then it is going to be metamerism, and then it is going to be ring chain isomerism. So I hope you are all enthusiastic, ready for your learning. So let us begin. So let us draw first of all the structural isomers of alcohols with the molecular formula C4H9OH. This is going to help us recap what we have learned in the previous lecture related to chain isomerism and position isomerism. We will revise that and build up a knowledge further. This is very important in isomerism that you have an understanding of each and every concept. If that is not clear, what you have learned in the previous lecture, you're not going to understand anything in this lecture. Alright, so let us draw the structural isomers for C4H9OH. Now here what you can understand is that had we got a butane, it would have been C4H10. So from butane, we remove one hydrogen, we get a butyl radical. Alright, and now in the butyl radical, if you add a OH, you would be getting C4H9OH. So we have two butanes. One is N-butane and the other is isobutane. So for those two butanes, if you remove the different types of hydrogens, you will be getting four different types of butyl isomers, butyl radical isomers. And wherever we will be removing a hydrogen, we will be putting up a OH group. This is exactly what we have done in the previous lecture also when we drew the structures for C4H9Cl. So let us read that. Alright. So we have N-butane where all the four carbons, they are arranged in a straight line, straight continuous chain of four carbons, right? So here this four carbons, this has primary hydrogen, this will be a secondary hydrogen over here, a secondary hydrogen over here, and a primary hydrogen over here. If you remove any of the primary hydrogens and replace it by a OH, you get the first isomer for this alcohol, that is going to be N-butyl alcohol. And if you remove any of the secondary hydrogen, replace it by a OH, you will be getting the second isomer, that is going to be sec-butyl alcohol. Next, from the 4 carbon chain, we draw a 3 carbon chain, and this is what we call as isobutane. From isobutane now, there are again two types of hydrogen, a primary hydrogen and a tertiary hydrogen. If you remove a primary hydrogen from the primary carbon and replace it by a OH, you will be getting a isobutyl alcohol. And if you remove a tertiary hydrogen and replace it by a OH, you will be getting a tertiary butyl alcohol. I hope this is clear. The other way is that you draw a 4 carbon chain, put a OH at position number 1, position number 2, right? And then from a 4 carbon chain, you draw a 3 carbon chain. A methyl group is going to come at position number 2. It cannot come at position number 1. It cannot come at this position also, because then the longest continuous chain would be a 4 carbon chain. So this is how you get the third isomer, and then this is the fourth when we are putting it at position number 2. So these are the 4 possible alcohols with C4H9OH. Now what we are going to do is we are going to reframe this question. What we will be writing is that you have to draw the structural isomers for C4, H10 and O. Okay, so what I have done is this 9 plus 1, 10. I have made them all together. I am specifying you that I do not want alcohols only. Is there any other way in which we can get more structural isomers for this molecular formula? Well, yes. What is that going to be? Well, ethers and alcohols, both of them, they have one oxygen. There are aldehydes and ketones also, which have one oxygen as a functional in the functional group, but there the general formula is going to be different. The alcohols and the ethers, they have the same general formula, that is CN H2N plus 2 OH. O. Alright, whereas the aldehydes and the ketones, they will be having the general formula of CN H2NO. Okay, so here we can differentiate that this is not going to be aldehyde or ketone. They are going to be alcohols and ethers present for this same molecular formula. Okay, so alcohols and ethers, they have the same molecular formula for the corresponding same number of carbon atoms, obviously. So let us see now what all ethers can we draw over here. So ethers, they are going to have a general formula ROR dash. So there is going to be an oxygen atom in the center and alkyl groups on either side. So if we have 4 carbons, we can put 2 on one side and 2 on other. We can put 1 on one side and 3 on other, right? And then we can break this 3 carbon chain into a 2 carbon chain with a methyl group going down. So this is going to be a different structure. This is a propyl group and this is the isopropyl group. So these are the 3 possible isomers we can have for ethers with the formula C4H10O. This can also come in your question, that draw the structural isomers of ethers with the molecular formula C4H10O. Right? Now, what do we know till now? What we know is that if 1 and 2, they are having the same functional group, right? But the position of the functional group, this is different. So these are going to be position isomers, right? The carbon length of the chain, that is same, 4 carbons. Only the position of the functional group is different. So this is positional isomers. If you look at 2 and 3, this is 4 carbon chain, this is a 3 carbon chain. So these two, they are going to be chain isomers. Similarly, 1 and 3, they will be chain isomers. 1 and 4, they will be chain isomers. 3 and 4, they will be what? They will be position isomers, right? So this is for alcohols that you already know. You can understand this. Now the next question is, what are 1 and 5? Well, 1 is having a functional group OH and 5 is having a functional group O. That means this is an ether and this is an alcohol. So when the functional group is different, you all know the properties of the compounds, they are governed by the functional group. So the properties, they are going to be different if the functional group becomes different. So what do we have? We have compounds which have the same molecular formula, but their properties, they are different. So they are going to be again isomers. What type of isomers now? They are going to be called as functional isomers because the functional group, this is different. So let us define now functional isomerism. So functional isomerism, this is defined as the same molecular formula, the isomers, you can say that the isomers, they will be having the same molecular formula representing 2 or more compounds which differ in the nature of the functional group and hence the functional group, because it is different, so the chemical and the physical properties, they are going to be naturally different. And one example that you have just now studied is an alcohol and an ether. So ethyl alcohol CH3CH2OH and dimethyl ether CH3OCH3. So this is carbon number 1, carbon number 2, and we have 3 plus 2, 5 plus 1, 6 hydrogens and oxygen. So this is C2H6O. Similarly, this is also C2H6O. So the molecular formula, this remains the same, right? But the functional group is going to be different for the two compounds. The functional group here is the OH group, and here we have the oxygen present in between the two alkyl radicals to be that functional group, right? So this is what we have as functional isomerism. Now let us look at some more examples of functional isomerism. First of all, we have aldehydes and ketones. So if we have a formula C3H6O now, okay, well, this is going to be representing an aldehyde and a ketone. Let us see those examples. So we have C3H6O written as an aldehyde. It is going to be CH3CH2CHO. So this is propanol. Similarly, we have a ketone also with the same molecular formula CH3COCH3. This is propanone. The functional group for the aldehyde is going to be CHO. For the ketone, it is going to be the CO. So again, the molecular formula is the same, but the functional group, this is different. Let us look at one more example. We have acids and esters. One example, C3H6O2. All right. So this is going to represent both the formula for an acid as well as an ester. Which one? CH3CH2COOH. This is C3H6O2. This is propanoic acid with the functional group COOH. Whereas if we have an ester, it is going to be CH3COOCH3. Again, the same molecular formula. This compound is called as methyl ethanoate. This is an ester with the functional group COO. Right? So here it is COOH. This is COO. Acids and esters, they have the same molecular formula, but again different chemical as well as physical properties. Next, we have the cyanides and the isocyanides. So they can also be represented by the same molecular formula. So if we have a molecular formula C2H3N, we are going to write this as a cyanide CH3CN. So this is the carbon of the cyanide group, the CN group, which is going to be attached to the carbon of the methyl group, and we call this as ethane nitride. The functional group is CN, whereas if it is going to be an isocyanide, it will be the N of the CN group, which will be attached to the carbon of the methyl group. So this is methyl isocyanide, and the functional group is going to be NC. Alright, so in all these you can now look at the molecular formula is the same, the functional groups, they are different, and this is what we know as functional isomerism. Want more examples? Let us do more, because you should have an understanding what set of compounds they can have similar general formulas. So the next compounds that we have are nitroalkanes and alkyl nitrides. For example, if we have C2H5NO2. This is one thing that we started the isomerism lecture also, that this compound C2H5NO2, this can be representing a nitroalkane as well as an alkyl nitride. If it is going to be nitroalkane, it is going to be CH3CH2NO2. The functional group is NO, and here the nitrogen of the NO2 group, this gets attached to the carbon of the ethyl group. All right, and then we have CH3CH2ONO. So here this is the oxygen which gets attached to the carbon, and we call this as ethyl nitride. The functional group is going to be ONO. Here it is the nitrogen, here is the oxygen which is getting attached. Both of them, therefore, they are going to be different functional groups, and hence these two compounds, they will be having different properties. And in fact, you have looked at the properties as well when we started lecture number 1. Fine. So let us move further with one more example. We have primary, secondary and tertiary amines. All of them again with the same general formula. For example, if we have C3H9N. So this can represent a primary amine, a secondary amine as well as a tertiary amine. Let us look at them. So first compound you can see is a CH3, CH2, CH2, This is a primary amine. The name of the compound is propane 1 amine or propanamine. Alright, and the functional group, this is the NH2 group. Why do we call this as a primary amine? Just remember this, do not get confused with primary carbons now. In the amines, the primary we are using for a nitrogen. All right. So this nitrogen atom, this is attached to one carbon. So we call this as a primary amine. Here it is going to be nitrogen, which we are looking at. It is attached to how many carbon atoms? If it is attached to one carbon, it is going to be primary amine. If it is going to be attached to two carbons, it is going to be secondary amine. If it is going to be attached to three carbons, it is going to be a tertiary amine. So here it is attached to one carbon. So it is a primary amine. Now look at this structure. Here you can see a CH3, CH2, NHCl3. So this nitrogen, this is attached to carbon number 1 and carbon number 2. So we have two carbons attached to this nitrogen. So this is a secondary amine. The name of the compound N-methyl ethanamine. All right. And the functional group, this is the NH group now. And then we have the tertiary amines where the nitrogen is going to be attached to three carbons. A carbon number 1, carbon number 2 and a carbon number 3. So this CH32 written over here, one of the CH3 will be attached over here. This, I hope that you can understand this. So this is a tertiary amine and the name of the compound NN. Dimethyl methanamine and the functional group now, this is the nitrogen, right? So here we had NH2 with one carbon attached to the nitrogen, NH. We have removed one more hydrogen, attached it to one more carbon. So this is two carbons attached to this nitrogen, and then we have tertiary amine where the nitrogen is going to be attached to three carbons. And all of these three, they are separate functional groups. They have separate properties, so they are going to be treated as functional isomers. All right, so the primary, the secondary and the tertiary amines, all of them, they can have the same molecular formula. They will be having different properties and we will be treating them under the category of functional isomers. The next we have the alkynes, the allenes and the dienes. For example, we have C4H6. So C4H6, this is CnH2n minus 2. So we can have an alkyne for this. And because this is a 4 carbon alkyne, so we can write this as CH3, CH2, C triple bond CH. So this is carbon number 1 where we have put the triple bond. So the name of the compound, this is but1ine. Yes, we can put it at the second position also. So this will be CH3, C triple bond C CH3. Alright, so in these two, the functional group is the same, the carbon triple bond. Okay, so what are these two going to be? Well, these two, they are going to be position isomers because they are differing only in the position of the triple bond. But now let us look at one more structure for the same formula C4H6. So this is where we, instead of putting a triple bond, we have put two double bonds. The molecular formula is going to remain again the same. Here you can see this is 3 plus 2, 5 plus 1, 6. In this structure also you can see that there are 2, 3, 4 and 6 carbon, hydrogens, right? So C4H6, same molecular formula for a triple bond or two double bonds. So when we have two double bonds at alternate positions, so this is double bond, a single bond and a double bond. So this is called as a diene and the name of the compound, this is going to be buta-1,3-diene, and the functional group, this is going to be an alternate double bond, single bond, double bond. Okay, so this alkyne and the diene, you can see they are having the same molecular formula, but obviously they will be having different chemical properties and physical properties because there is a double bond. Here we have a triple bond as the functional group. The next you have allenes. Now what are allenes? Allenes are going to be those compounds where the double bonds, they are consecutive in position. Okay, here we had alternate and here we have at consecutive positions. So this is a buta-1,2-diene, which we call commonly as an allene. The functional group is again the same, the carbon-carbon double bond. So but1ine and but1,3-diene, this is going to be functional isomerism. Similarly, but1ine and the buta-1,2,3,1,2-diene, these are also going to be functional isomers, or you can say this one and this one is a functional isomer, and this one is a functional isomer. Right, so now I think you have a proper understanding what do we mean by functional isomerism. So let us look at some more examples now. All these examples, they are very important because you should have an understanding what type of compounds they can be functional isomers. So if you have looked at these compounds, first and that it comes in the examination is going to be very simple for you people to identify such structures. All right. So we have aromatic alcohols, phenols, and ethers to be representing the same molecular formula, but obviously because they're going to be different functional groups, so this is going to be functional isomerism in them. So C7H8O, for example, this can be represented by first of all an aromatic alcohol. Now aromatic alcohol is going to be one in which the OH group, this is not going to be directly attached to the carbon of the ring. It is attached to the carbon of the side chain. So this is commonly called as benzyl alcohol, and the functional group, this is the OH group. So this is an aromatic alcohol. Next we have an ether. So this is an aromatic ether where one side we have an alkyl group and on the other side we have the phenyl group. So this is commonly called as anisole. So again the functional group is ROR or ROR dash. So this is an ether, this is an alcohol. So they are going to have different properties. Another one, this is a phenol. Now in phenol, the OH group, this is directly attached to the carbon of the benzene ring. So this we have a phenol with a second position for the methyl group. So we call commonly this as orthophenol. So the functional group, you can say this is going to be a phenol. This is an aromatic alcohol, this is a phenol, and the properties for them, this is going to be different. All right. So this is position number 2 for the methyl group. So we call this as orthocresol. This is metacresol, where we have them at position number 1 and 3, and then we have them at position number 1 and 4. This is going to be a paracresol. All right. So 1, 2, and 3, all of them, they are exhibiting what? They are exhibiting functional isomerism. What is the isomerism in these 3 compounds? Well, it is going to be position isomerism, because only the position of the substituents that is different. Perfectly fine, I hope. So if you are asked the benzyl alcohol and orthocresol, what type of isomerism this has, it has functional isomerism. But if orthocresol and metacresol, what type of isomerism this has, it is a positional isomerism. So now let us go back again to the question, draw the structural isomers of C4H10O, where I told you that we have to still discuss something more. So the general molecular formula for this molecule, this is going to be CnH2n plus 2O. If the number of carbons is going to be 4, the number of hydrogen is going to be 2 into 4 plus 2, that is going to be 10, and an oxygen. So the functional groups which can have this general formula, they are going to be either alcohols or ethers. And we've already drawn what are the 4 types of alcohols they can be, and what are the 3 types of the ethers which are possible for this molecular formula of C4H10O. So all of these now, they are isomers. But what type of isomers? That is what should be clear to you people. So if you look at 1 and 5, in 1 the functional group is OH, and in 5 the functional group is a O. So this is an ether and this is an alcohol. So the type of isomerism that we can see in 1 and 5, this is going to be functional isomerism. The next, if we look at 1 and 6, again a functional group difference, so it is going to be functional isomer. And if we look at 1 and 7, it is going to be again functional isomers. So what this means is that if we take any of these 4 alcohols or any of these ethers, the 2 structures, they will be functional isomers of each other. Right? I do not have to specify each and every. That 2 and 5 is also going to be a functional isomer, and 3 and 5 is also going to be a functional. Any one of these and any one of these, if you pick 2, they are going to be functional isomers of each other. Next, if we look at now 1 and 2, what are they? The functional group remains the same, the molecular formula remains the same. It is only the difference in the position of the functional group. So these 2, they are going to be positional isomers. So 1 and 3, we can have these to be chain isomers, because we can see that there is a difference in the chain length. So if we now look at 5 and 6, what are they? So 5 and 6, they are having the same molecular formula. They have the same functional group, so this cannot be functional isomerism. If we look at the position of the functional group, here we have oxygen at position number 3, here we have it at position number 2. So this should be positional isomerism, because the position of the oxygen, this is different. Okay, but please do remember, this is not a case of positional isomerism. This is a different type of isomerism that we are going to now learn, and that is called as metamerism, and the two structures, they are called as metamers. So now what is metamerism? Let us understand that. If you look at structure number 1 and structure number 2, here what did you see was that this was positional isomerism. So let us start from here only. This OH group, this is attached to one carbon only. So this functional group, this is what type? This is a monovalent functional group. The functional group, this has a valency of 1, right? So it is that wise only attached to one carbon. Similarly, in 2 also you can see the OH group, this is attached to only one carbon. So these are a monovalent functional group, where we will be seeing that the functional group, this has a valency of 1. But if you look at 5 and 6, what you can see is that this oxygen, this is bivalent. It is joined to two carbons. It is showing a valency of 2. So when we have such functional groups where the functional group atom or the group of atoms, okay, so it can be whatever type of a functional group, but if the functional group, this is bivalent, or in fact it is polyvalent, it is showing more than one valency, in that case the isomerism, if you see also that seems to be a difference in the position of the functional group, never call that to be position isomerism. It is always going to be metamerism. Okay, and when we see metamerism, what we see is that we have a polyvalent functional group, and on either side of it we have a difference in the number of carbons or the number of alkyl groups. So here you can see in 5 we have 2 carbons on either side of the oxygen, and in 6 there is 1 carbon, then an oxygen atom, and then we have 3 carbons. So we have a difference in the number of carbons attached to the oxygen atom on either side. Okay, and this oxygen atom, this is polyvalent functional group. So this is metamerism. I will just now give you the definition of this as well, so you will be understanding it a bit more better. But I hope now you have at least got a rough idea of what metamerism is. Let us now look at 5 and 7. What are they? So in 5 and 7 also you can see that we have the same functional group, and the position of the functional group, this is differing because of the difference in the number of carbons attached on either side of it. Here it is 2 plus 2, and here you can say it is 2 and 1 with a substituted 2, or you can say it is a 3 and a 1, for whatever way you may understand this. But there is a difference in the nature of the alkyl groups that is attached to the oxygen atom. So this is going to be again a case of metamerism. All right. And now if you look at 6 and 7, here what you see is this is 1 carbon and 3 carbons. Here also it is 3 carbons and 1 carbon. So what are these? Well, these are also going to be metamers only. Alright. So there is a difference in the nature of the alkyl groups. This is a methyl group and this is a propyl group. This is a isopropyl group and a methyl group. So there is a difference in the nature of the alkyl group. So this is also going to be metamerism. So let us define metamerism now. So this is going to be that phenomenon in which the isomers, that is the compounds, either 2 or more than 2 in number, they will be having different number of carbon atoms or alkyl groups on either side of a polyvalent functional group. For example, an oxygen, a sulfur, a NH, a CO. So here all you can see is that on either side there are two bonds being formed by the atom. So oxygen is forming two bonds, sulfur is forming two bonds, the NH group, this is forming two bonds, and the carbon of the carbonyl group also, this is forming two bonds. So all of these, whenever they are going to be present in a structure, more than one structure obviously, so those structures, they will be called as metamers. So these are going to be all members of the same family, or they will be having same functional group. So the functional group is going to be the same. There is going to be a polyvalent functional group present. On either side of it, there is going to be a difference in the number of the carbon atoms. All right. So these were the three structures that we had just now drawn in the previous example. So let us name these structures first of all. So this is oxygen. Uh, Two carbon this side, two carbon this side. So this is ethoxyethane, or this is commonly called as diethyl ether. Here it was 1 and 3. So this is 1 methoxypropane or methyl N-propyl ether. And in the next it was an isopropyl group. So this is 2 methoxypropane or isopropyl methyl ether for the common name. So all these three, they are going to be metamers. The functional group, this is going to be the same. The number of carbon atoms or the alkyl group which is attached on either side, that is different. I hope now this is perfectly clear to you people. Alright, let us see one more example. So here we have a CH3, CH2, NHC2H5. Again we have a polyvalent functional group, that is the NH group, which we can see that the nitrogen is forming two bonds, right? On this side as well as this side. And if you look at this compound now, this is also the same functional group. So the functional group is the same. The difference is in the number of carbon atoms on either side of the functional group. Here it is 1 plus 3. Here it is 2 plus 2. So these are two also going to be metamers. This is diethylamine. This is methyl propylamine. Now, there is one more thing that you have to remember over here, and that is the priority order if you are now having any confusion. What you have seen in the previous lecture was wherever you were having a confusion, whether it is going to be a chain isomer or it is going to be a position isomer, I told you that remember that we will be, if there is a difference in the number of carbons in the chain, it will be always a chain isomerism. Position isomerism is behind that. Alright, so now you have learned four types of isomerism: functional, metamerism, chain and position. So remember, if there is a confusion what is going to be the type of isomers, first of all you should see that if the functional group, that is different. If the functional group is different, it is going to be functional isomerism. Next, if we have a polyvalent functional group, then if you are thinking it can be a position isomerism, it will never be a position isomerism. It is going to be metamerism. Even in these two, what you can think is that here the functional group is the same, but the chain is different, right? So this is a 3 carbon chain, this is a 2 carbon chain. So you can think about this to be a chain isomerism also. But no, this is going to be metamerism because we have a polyvalent functional group. Simple. Alright, so if we have a polyvalent functional group, it is always going to be metamerism. It will not be chain isomerism, it will not be position isomerism, and then it can be a chain and a position. So this is the priority order for the types of isomerisms we have learned so far. Now the practice problem for you people: draw the structural isomers of C4H11N. Alright, so you can pause the lecture and try this question first of all yourself and then look at the solution. Now if you've done it, let us see how we are going to do it. Alright, so this is C4H11N and this is going to be an amine. And when we have an amine, it can be a primary amine, it can be a secondary amine, it can be a tertiary amine. So let us first of all draw the structures for primary amine. For primary amine, the general formula is going to be RNH2. Alright, so this means we will be having an alkyl group, and an alkyl group we have having a monovalent functional group attached to it, that is the NH2 group. So similar to what you have done for the butyl alcohol, or similar to what you have done for butyl chloride in the previous lecture, they are going to be again four isomers: a N-butyl group, a sec-butyl group, a isobutyl group and a tert-butyl group. So I hope now this is very clear to you people. You will not make a mistake. Or it is a 4 carbon chain, position number 1, a 4 carbon chain, position number 2, a 3 carbon chain with a methyl group at position number 2. Then at position number 1 you have the functional group, and position number 2 you have the functional group. So 4 isomers you will be always forming over here in accordance with the 4 isomers for the butyl radical. Alright, so this is for the primary amine, but now along with the primary amine we can also draw a secondary amine with the general formula RNHR dash. So you are going to vary the number of carbons around the nitrogen atom. Alright, so this is nitrogen, 2 carbon this side, 2 carbon this side, 3 carbon this side, 1 carbon this side, and now you can even branch these 3 carbons. So this is a propyl group, this is the isopropyl group. So these are the 3 structures which will be possible for the secondary amine, just like we did for the ethers also. And next we have the tertiary amine. So here we have again a nitrogen, and on the 3 sides of this we have the different alkyl groups, or they can be same alkyl groups. So here for a 4 carbon amine, what you can draw is on one side a carbon, another side a carbon, and on the rest two they are going to be on one side. So this is the only possible structure we can have, 1 1 and 2. There is no other possibility. So now let us understand what are going to be the different types of isomerisms we can see in all of these. So first we have 1, 5 and 8. I have picked up one from the primary amine, one from the secondary amine, and the tertiary amine. So all of these, they are having a different functional group. Here the functional group is the NH2 group. Here the functional group is NH, and here it is going to be the N. So these are going to be exhibiting functional isomerism. Any one of these, and this, they are going to be functional isomers for each other. Next we have 2 and 3. I've just picked up some random colors for two or the 3 structures, so that you can just differentiate now, because you know the concept already. So this is a 4 carbon chain with the same functional group. This is a 3 carbon chain with the same functional group. So it is going to be what type of isomerism? Yes, it is going to be chain isomerism. Next we have 1 and 2. So we have the functional group at position number 1. We have the functional group at position number 2. Again, it is going to be what isomerism? It is going to be positional isomerism. Next you can see 5 and 6. Now 5 and 6 we have the same functional group, right? So these are going to be secondary amines, but this is now a polyvalent functional group. So there is going to be a difference only in the number of carbons on either side of the polyvalent functional group. So this is going to be a case of metamerism. Okay, I hope this is clear now. Next, even in 5 and 7, you can see that there is going to be a difference in the alkyl groups that are attached to the polyvalent functional group. So it is going to be again a case of metamerism. So what you have to remember is that if we have the same polyvalent functional group in 2 or more than 2 organic compounds, then it will always be metamerism. It will never be chain isomerism. It will never be position isomerism. Simple, straightforward thing. You have to remember this. This is very, very important. Now the next I want you all people to draw the structural isomers for C3H6 and tell me how many of them they are possible. Now if you've done that, let us discuss that as well. So we have C3H6. So the general formula is CnH2n, and this is the general formula for an alkene. So let us draw a 3 carbon alkene with a double bond at position number 1. This is going to be prop1ene or propene. Can we draw prop2ene? We can put the double bond over here, but well, then we will be numbering it from this end. So this is actually the only possible structure that we have for propene, right? So this is the only possible isomer for C3H6. No other possible isomer? Well, no. There is one more isomer that we can draw over here, and that is going to be a cyclic ring. So a cycloalkane, this also has the general formula of CnH2n, right? So you can see over here that we have drawn a 3 carbon ring, 2 hydrogen, 2, 4 and 6. So this is also C3H6. This is cyclopropane and this is propene. Now one more thing, let us draw the structural isomers for C3H4. I will just now discuss them, but let us draw C3H4. So this is the general formula for an alkyne, CnH2n minus 2. So let us draw a 3 carbon alkyne now. Alright, so this is CH3C triple bond CH. Again, if you look at this, you will be able to draw only one structure, either the triple bond at this position or the triple bond at this position. But instead of a triple bond, now I can draw 2 double bonds also, and the number of my carbon and hydrogen atoms will remain the same. The molecular formula, this will remain the same. So if you look at this, I have drawn CH2 double bond C double bond CH2. So 3 carbons and 4 hydrogen, and the name of the compound, this is prop-1,2-diene. So this is also one structural isomer for this formula C3H4. Can we draw any more? Just think about it. Well, again, we can draw a cyclic structure as well, because a double bond, you all now know, this is having the same general formula as that of a ring structure also, right? So we can draw a ring structure instead of one double bond, and here there were two double bonds present, so instead of that we can draw one double bond and one ring. I hope this is clear to you people. So these are the three structural isomers I have for these compounds. Now what are these type of isomers? That is what you should understand. So this is a double bond. This is a cyclic ring. They will be having entirely different properties. So if you look at this, this is all single bonds. Here we have a double bond, and this is a ring structure. This is a straight structure. So these are functional isomers, right? But similarly, let us talk about this one also. This structure propyne and prop-1,2-ene, there is a triple bond present, and the functional group over here is a double bond. So this is functional isomerism. Similarly, this is a cyclic structure. This is a straight structure. So this is also going to have different properties. And if you look at this, this is a triple bond and this is a double bond. Again, there is a difference in the functional group. So these three, they are also going to be functional isomers of each other. These are also going to be functional isomers of each other. But what you have to remember is that for a cyclic structure and a straight compound, we are giving the functional isomerism a special type of name, and that name, this is called as ring chain isomerism. Alright, so the compounds with the same molecular formula differing in the mode of linkage of the carbon atoms, the isomers, they are having open chain or closed chain structure. So propene and cyclopropane, they are going to be ring chain isomers. Propyne and prop-1,2-diene, they are going to be functional isomers. But propyne and cyclopropene, prop-1,2-diene and cyclopropene, they are going to be ring chain isomers. Please do remember this. Alright, whenever you have same molecular formula but one of the structures is a ring and the other is a straight chain compound, we are going to always call that ring chain isomerism. Although the ring chain isomers, they are always going to be functional isomers. Okay. And now, because we have learned one more type of isomerism, so let us put this up into a priority order also. So ring chain is going to be more important to us than functional, then metamerism, then chain and position. So if you are seeing that there is a functional isomerism in propyne and cyclopropene, here is a triple bond, here this is a double bond, so you can think about this to be functional isomerism. But because this is a straight chain structure, this is a closed chain structure, so you will be giving a preference to call this type of isomerism as ring chain isomerism. Perfectly clear? Good. So let us see one more example now. So this is going to be the last question for today's lecture. Draw the structural isomers for C4H6. And now that you've learned everything that we could study in this lecture, I would like you to try this question yourself. You have to draw the structural isomers for C4H6. And the hint is that this is going to be CnH2n minus 2. So you should start with an alkyne and move on and draw as many structures as possible. Now, if you've done that, well, let us discuss them also. So this is first of all going to be an alkyne, a 4-carbon alkyne. So it is going to be butene. Butene, the triple bond at position number 1. So this is but1-ine. And if I draw it at position number 2, it is going to be but2-ine. So these are the two possible structures. The branching is not going to be possible. You will not be able to satisfy all the valencies. So that is not going to be possible. Now, if I've drawn a triple bond, I can draw two double bonds instead of it. You have just now learned. So position number 1 and position number 2, we have drawn the double bonds, and we can draw this at position number 1 and 3 as well. Alright, so these are again going to be the next structures for the two double bonds. These are the only 4 possible structural isomers as far as the straight chain compounds they are concerned, you will not be able to draw anymore. If you are drawing well, the valencies, they are not going to get satisfied. You can have to count the number of hydrogens also that are possible, whether you'll be able to do that or not. So try it, but you will be getting only these four structures. Now we've just now learned that when there's a double bond present, this means that there's a ring also present, and here we have two double bonds. So let us try with two rings first of all. So the two rings which are possible is going to be this way. This is going to be a bicyclic compound. Alright, the next I can do is that I can draw one ring and one double bond. So this is going to be my structure, and the double bond, wherever it is going to be present, this will be carbon number 1 and this will be carbon number 2. So this is the only structure that is going to be possible for cyclobutene. Next, if we can draw 4 carbon ring, we can also draw 3 carbon ring. So let us do that. When we are going to do that, one double bond is a ring, one double bond will be a double bond, and one methyl group has come out of the ring. So this is going to be a substituent. Perfectly fine. Now this is position number 1 for the substituent. I can draw it as a position number 2 also for the methyl group. This is going to be 1 methyl cyclopropene and this is going to be 2 methyl cyclopropene. So these are also going to be the isomers for each other. Alright. Now there's one more possibility over here, and that possibility is that I take the double bond outside as a substituent. Alright. So this is going to be the structure that is possible. Now, let us see what are the different types of isomers in all these structures. So, if you look at the structures which are colored yellow, what are these going to be? Well, there is a position difference of the two double bonds. Here we had position number 1 and 2, and this is position number 1 and 3. So, this is going to be a case of positional isomerism, right? Next, you can see these in red. What are these going to be? These are two double bond. This is a triple bond. So the functional group, this is going to be different. A double bond, a triple bond. So this is going to be a case of functional isomerism. The next, what are these two going to be? Again, a triple bond and a double bond. Again, this will be functional isomerism. Next, what you can see now, this is the two yellow triangles. What are they going to be different in? They are differing in the position of the substituent, the methyl group. So what are these two going to be? Again, these are going to be positional isomers. So now these two structures, what you can see is again that there is a difference in the position of the double bond. So this is going to be positional isomerism. The next we can see what is going to be there a difference in, we have a 4 carbon ring and we have a 3 carbon ring. So this is going to be a case of chain isomerism, and because these are cyclic compounds we can call this to be cyclic chain isomers or simply chain isomerism. Both of them, this is going to be correct. Similarly, these two structures, again this is going to be a 4 carbon ring and this is a 3 carbon ring. So this is going to be cyclic chain isomerism. The next structures now which you can see, this is what? This is a double bond and a single bond all over. Well, but this is not going to be functional isomerism. What are we going to call this? We will be calling this as ring chain isomerism because one is a straight chain compound and the other is a ring. Similarly, in this structure, the red structures, two of them, they are going to be straight chain and ring. So this will be ring chain isomerism. So again, you can see the structures in red. They are going to be what type of compounds? A straight chain and a ring. So this is going to be ring chain isomerism. And this one as well, it is going to be a ring and a straight structure. So this is going to be ring chain isomerism. So what we can conclude is that if we have any of a straight chain compound and any of these ring chain structure, we are going to call that as ring chain isomerism. And now I hope the whole concept, this is clear to you. What is chain isomerism, what is functional isomerism, what is position isomerism, what is metamerism, and what is ring chain isomerism. The whole concept, this should be clear to you. In case you still have any doubts, please do put that in the comment section or on the email ID of ours, which I'm just now going to show you. So our email ID is h2ochemistry@gmail.com. So in case you are still having any confusion related to anything, while problem solving you face any difficulty, or when you're revising your concepts, if you feel any difficulty, please put that in the comment section or email that to us, right? Now this brings us to the end of the lecture, and in the next lecture we are going to discuss about double bond equivalent. We are left with one more type of structural isomerism, that is tautomerism, but that we will be doing in lecture number 4 after we have discussed this concept of double bond equivalent. Why are we learning this? Well, this is going to be very helpful to you people while you're going to make all the isomers for various molecular formulas. So this is going to actually help you in problem solving. I tell you for molecular formula, I draw all the structures, that's fine. But when you're going to do that, how are you going to do that? Well, this is a concept that is going to be very helpful to you. So please do not miss the lecture. In fact, please do not miss any lecture. Every lecture we are preparing with utmost care to give you the best quality education. So please be with us. If you have not subscribed to the channel till now, do that and also click on the bell icon so that you get a notification the moment we put up the next lecture for you. So see you again. Have a nice day. God bless.